In today's topic, we will be covering Lesson 4.1, International Business, found in our Intro to Business textbook. The goals are to explain the difference between imports and exports, and to describe 3 barriers to international trade. Goods and services that U.S. companies buy from other countries are called imports. Imports to the United States account for the total supply of our bananas, coffee, cocoa, spices, tea, silk, and crude rubber. About half of all crude oil and fish comes from imports. Imports account for a large amount of the supply of carpets, sugar, and leather gloves. The United States also imports mica, tin, zinc, industrial diamonds, and several other metals. Without international trade, many of the products that consumers buy would not be available, or might cost more. Some countries can sell goods at lower prices because their labor costs are much lower. In some cases, consumers perceive imports to be of higher quality than the same item made in the United States. Or consumers may just prefer products from other countries, such as Norwegian sweaters, French perfumes, and Swiss watches. The goods and services that U.S. companies sell to other countries are called exports. U.S. exports benefit consumers in other economies just as imports to the United States benefit you as a consumer. U.S. exports that are popular in other countries include farm machinery, medicines, food, books, movies, TV programs, and plastics. Producing goods and services for export is good for the U.S. workforce too. About 1 out of every 6 jobs in the United States depends on international business for its existence. Jobs that are supported by international trade also tend to pay high wages. The U.S. exports and imports table shows the value of exported and imported goods between the United States and 7 countries in a recent year. A country's balance of trade is the difference between its exports and its imports. When exports are greater than imports, a positive balance of trade occurs. When imports are greater than exports, a negative balance of trade occurs. A country's balance of trade is the difference between its exports and its imports. One of the challenges faced by businesses that export and import is the variety of currencies in the world. Each nation has its own banking system and its own kind of money. For instance, Russia uses the ruble, Venezuela the bolivar, the European Union the euro, and the Netherlands the guilder. When U.S. companies trade with companies in other countries, currency must be exchanged. Most large banks provide currency exchange services for businesses. The exchange rate is the value of a currency of one country compared with the currency of another country. When our U.S. currency is valued lower than the currency of the country we are trading with, prices for our goods in the other country will be lower. When the value of currency in the other country is lower, our goods will sell for a higher price in that country. Exchange rates fluctuate constantly. Recent examples are shown in the exchange rate table. A quota is a device governments use to regulate international trade that sets a limit on the quantity of a product that can be imported or exported. A tariff is a tax a government places on certain imported products to cause the price of those products to increase in the country's markets. An embargo is a device governments use to regulate international trade that completely stops the export or import of goods or services.